Everyone dreams of Europe. The Eiffel Tower, gelato at the Colosseum, beer steins in Germany. It's the trip we're all supposed to take, the ultimate rite of passage. I planned, I scrolled, I saved blog posts, but something felt off. The dream felt less like mine and more like a script I was expected to follow. The reality, endless queues, packed beaches, and crowds everywhere. Travel should be about freedom and discovery, not a checklist or obligation. I wanted an adventure that was uniquely mine, not a carbon copy. So I looked at the world map again and decided to throw the script away. Abandoning Europe wasn't just about crowds, it was about finding authenticity. I didn't want a military operation of pre-booked tickets and 5 a.m. alarms. I wanted to wander, to stumble upon hidden gems, to have real conversations. I craved a culture shock, to be challenged and changed. So I closed the browser tabs, opened a fresh map, and searched for places less traveled. This wasn't about skipping Europe. It was about choosing something more. I was ready for a real, raw, unfiltered adventure. My European dream crashed when I saw the costs. Flights, hostels, even water and pasta. The fantasy faded as my budget evaporated. Was I paying for a real experience or just the brand name of Europe? The high price was the entrance fee to an overcrowded club. I wanted my money to buy me time and memories, not just bragging rights. The Postcard perfect trip was too expensive and too shallow. My travel funds could mean so much more elsewhere. Beyond the prices, the chaos was overwhelming, crowds everywhere, no space to breathe. The checklist of must-sees became a prison, dictating every move. There was no room for spontaneity, no time for real discovery. Travel became about consumption, not connection. I didn't want to be herded from one tourist trap to the next. I wanted freedom, transformation, and genuine experience. That's when I knew I needed a different path. As the classic European dream faded, curiosity took over. I opened a blank map. The world felt huge again. Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa, places full of adventure and authenticity. I wanted to feel the thrill of the unknown, to rely on instinct and kindness. My research became an exploration of possibilities, not logistics. For the price of a week in Europe, I could spend a month truly immersed elsewhere. I chose surprise over predictability, connection over consumption. The call of the unknown was too loud to ignore. After weeks of searching, I landed on the Philippines. It promised raw beauty and adventure. I packed my bags and booked a one-way ticket. I flew east across oceans to an archipelago of over 7,000 islands. I chose the Philippines. The moment I stepped off the plane, I was hit by a wave of warm, humid air and vibrant energy. I was trading crowded city squares for pristine, empty beaches. My first destination was the island of Palawan. From the moment I arrived, it felt like I had stepped into a dream. This was the freedom I had been craving. This was the start of my real adventure. How much did paradise cost? The difference is shocking. 2 weeks in Europe was spiraling out of control. Flights were over $1,200. Hostels averaged $50 a night. I was looking at $2,500 for 2 weeks. The Philippines, however, was significantly cheaper. Beautiful private rooms were $15, $20 a night. Food was a fraction of the cost of Europe. My daily budget was under $40, and I was living like royalty. For the price of 2 weeks in Europe, I could travel the Philippines for 2 months. It bought me time and freedom. The true value of choosing the Philippines went far beyond my spreadsheet. What I gained was a richness of experience that money can't buy. In Europe, my money would have bought me access to things. Here, my money bought me connections and experiences. For the price of one fancy European dinner, I could hire a local boatman for an entire day. He took me to his favorite hidden beaches, told me stories, and shared his freshly caught fish. I wasn't just observing a culture, I was being invited into it. For less than the cost of a guided city tour in Europe, I rented a motorbike for a week and explored the island. Ultimately, the choice gave me a better story, filled with unexpected characters and breathtaking scenery. The biggest culture shock I experienced in the Philippines wasn't the food or the language, it was the overwhelming kindness. From my very first day, I was met with genuine smiles everywhere I went. This kindness manifested in countless small ways that left a huge impact on me. I remember being hopelessly lost, and a man stopped to guide me for kilometers. This spirit of community, known locally as bayanihan, is something I saw in action everywhere. It was a powerful reminder that wealth is measured in relationships and community bonds. The culture wasn't just welcoming, it was profoundly human. It was a culture that didn't just welcome you, it embraced you. In Europe, my itinerary would have been filled with museums, cathedrals, and art galleries. I would have spent my days indoors looking at history through a glass case. In the Philippines, my museum was the great outdoors, and my historical artifacts were living landscapes. I traded the Louvre for limestone cliffs and the Colosseum for active volcanoes. Instead of queuing for hours to see a famous statue, I spent my days actively participating in my adventure, creating my own stories instead of just observing someone else's. My first major local experience was hiking a volcano, an adventure that was both physically demanding and spiritually rewarding. The climb began before dawn, with only the light of our headlamps cutting through the darkness. Guided by a local who had climbed the volcano hundreds of times, we scrambled over volcanic rock and through dense jungle. He didn't just show us the path. He taught us about the local plants, pointed out constellations in the fading night sky, and shared legends about the mountain. Reaching the summit just as the sun began to rise was a moment of pure magic. As the light spilled over the horizon, revealing a crater lake and a panoramic view of the island below, I felt a sense of accomplishment and awe that no museum could ever replicate. This was living history. My next adventure took me from the mountains to the sea. I learned to ride the waves, not in a crowded commercial surf school, but with a group of local kids in a small fishing village. They laughed at my clumsy attempts, cheered wildly when I finally caught a wave, and shared their passion for the ocean with pure, unadulterated joy. There was no formal lesson plan, no certificate at the end. The experience was about connection, play, and embracing the powerful rhythm of the ocean. I spent hours in the water, feeling more alive and present than ever before, learning not just a skill, but a way of life. These experiences were real, they were raw, and they were deeply personal. I wasn't just a spectator, I was an active participant. I rode through muddy jungle trails on a quad bike, kayaked into hidden lagoons that felt like undiscovered worlds, and swam with giant sea turtles in their natural habitat. Each adventure was more than just an activity. It was a lesson in courage, resilience, and the incredible beauty of our planet. I had come here seeking something different, and I found it. I had traded the passive experience of sightseeing for the active, heart-pounding, soul-filling experience of true adventure. One of the most profound local experiences I had was centered around food. But it wasn't about eating in fancy restaurants. It was about connecting with people in their own kitchens. I had become friendly with the family that ran my guest house in a small coastal town. One afternoon, the matriarch, a wonderful woman named Elena, saw me admiring the vibrant produce at the local market. With a warm smile, she invited me to join her in preparing the evening meal. This wasn't a formal cooking class I had paid for. It was a genuine invitation into the heart of her home and family life. The kitchen was simple, open air, and bustling with activity. Elena patiently guided me through the steps of making kinilaw, a local ceviche made with fresh fish, vinegar, ginger, and chilies. Her daughter taught me how to properly grate a coconut for the coconut milk we would use in another dish. We chopped vegetables, stirred pots, and communicated through a mix of broken English, hand gestures, and a whole lot of laughter. I learned that the secret ingredient to Filipino cooking wasn't just one spice. It was the communal effort and the love that went into preparing a meal to be shared. As we cooked, the rest of the family drifted in and out, sharing stories and jokes. The grandfather told me tales of his life as a fisherman, while the children practiced their English with me, giggling at my pronunciation of Tagalog words. The aroma of garlic, ginger, and simmering adobo filled the air, creating a feeling of warmth and belonging that was deeply comforting. This was so much more than a cooking lesson. It was a genuine cultural exchange, a moment of real connection that transcended language barriers and cultural differences. It was a glimpse into the soul of a Filipino family. That evening, we all sat down together to share the feast we had prepared. The food was incredible, fresh, flavorful, and made with love. But what I'll remember most is the feeling of being at that table, surrounded by my new friends, sharing stories and laughter under a string of patio lights. It was a simple moment, but it was one of the most meaningful of my entire trip. It was a powerful reminder that the most memorable travel experiences often have nothing to do with famous sights or grand adventures, but everything to do with the human connections we make along the way. The Philippines is defined by its beaches and its food, an absolute explosion of flavor. The food scene is cheap, incredibly delicious, and deeply authentic. My culinary adventure began on the street, where the heart of Filipino food truly beats. Every island, every region has its own specialty. I quickly fell in love with adobo, the unofficial national dish. And then there was lechon, the legendary roasted pig. Beyond the famous dishes, I discovered a world of exotic fruits and refreshing desserts. When the afternoon heat became too much, the perfect remedy was always Halo Halo, a perfect reflection of the country's fun and vibrant spirit. The best food was found in the bustling local markets. Food here was a communal experience, a way of life, and a source of immense national pride. If you're a foodie, this place is an absolute paradise. The true magic of the Philippines lies just beyond the edges of the map, in places that don't make it into the glossy travel brochures. I made it my mission to find the real hidden gems, the spots that felt truly untouched. This quest led me to rent a motorbike and explore the rugged coastline of a lesser-known island. I found a perfect crescent of white sand, completely deserted. I found secret waterfalls hidden deep within the jungle. One of my favorite hidden gems was a tiny, family-run restaurant perched on a cliffside. The owner served me the most incredible fresh-caught fish I'd ever tasted. This was the real Philippines, raw, unfiltered, and full of genuine magic. These experiences taught me the importance of straying from the tourist trail. The rewards are immeasurable. I came to the Philippines for the landscapes, but I'll return for the people. Looking back on my journey, I realized that the most unforgettable moments, the ones that truly changed me, were not about the places I saw, but the people I met. The natural beauty was the backdrop, but the Filipino people were the heart of the story. Their warmth, resilience, and boundless generosity turned a great trip into a life-altering experience. This trip was unforgettable because of the connections I made with strangers who quickly became friends, mentors, and even a temporary family, showing me a depth of kindness I had never before experienced. I will never forget the boatman, Meng Jun, who took me island hopping. He was supposed to just be a driver, but he became my guide and protector. He saw my genuine interest in his culture and went out of his way to show me things not on the standard tour. He pointed out constellations, taught me how to find shellfish on the rocks, and shared his lunch with me every single day. He spoke of his family with such love and of his country with such pride. His simple, profound happiness, despite having very little in a material sense, was a powerful lesson in what truly matters in life. Then there were the children. Everywhere I went, I was greeted by their bright, curious eyes and infectious laughter. In one small village, a group of kids adopted me for an afternoon. They led me by the hand through their neighborhood, proudly showing me their homes, their school, and their favorite climbing tree. We didn't share a language, but we communicated through smiles, games, and the universal language of play. Their unfiltered joy and simple pleasures were a beautiful and humbling reminder to find happiness in the small things. Their friendship was a precious gift, freely given without any expectation of something in return. From the family who invited me into their home for a birthday party to the elderly woman at the market who insisted I take an extra mango, every day was filled with these small acts of profound humanity. These people didn't have much to give, but they gave everything they had. Their time, their stories, their food, and their hearts. They showed me that the true richness of a country lies in its people. I left the Philippines with a camera full of beautiful photos, but I also left with a heart full of gratitude for the unforgettable people who made a foreign land feel like home. There are moments in travel that imprint themselves onto your soul forever. In the Philippines, these moments almost always involved nature. One morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. to hike to a viewpoint overlooking the jungle. As the sun finally broke over the distant mountains, its golden rays pierced through the morning mist. It was a sight so raw and majestic that it brought tears to my eyes. Later that day, I found a cascading waterfall that tumbled into a brilliant turquoise pool. It was a simple, pure joy, a natural spa that no amount of money could replicate. I found myself at a small beach bar where locals and travelers mingled effortlessly. Before I knew it, I was dancing on the sand with people I had just met. This felt real, this felt alive. Now let's get into the practical side of things, because a huge part of the freedom I felt came from how incredibly affordable it was to live well. I mentioned I was living on less than $40 a day, but what does that actually look like? It looks like abundance. It looks like never having to say no. My biggest budget hack was embracing the local lifestyle in every way possible. Instead of taxis, I learned to ride the colorful and chaotic jeepneys, the iconic local buses, where a ride across town costs mere cents. For longer distances or more freedom, I rented a scooter for about $5 a day, which became my key to unlocking the island's secrets. My accommodation was another area where I saved a fortune without sacrificing comfort. I stayed in family-run guest houses where I had a clean private room with a fan and my own bathroom for around $15 a night. But the real game changer was discovering the local markets. Instead of eating every meal out, I'd go to the market in the morning and buy a bounty of fresh tropical fruit. Pineapples, bananas, and the sweetest mangoes you've ever tasted, for just $1 or $2. This became my daily breakfast. I was eating healthier, saving money, and connecting with local vendors all at the same time. The affordability extended to every aspect of my life. A haircut from a local barber? $1. A 1-hour full-body massage on the beach? $8. Doing my laundry. A couple of dollars for a huge bag, washed, dried, and perfectly folded. These small costs, which add up so quickly in Europe, were almost negligible here. This financial freedom meant my mind was clear of the constant nagging stress of a dwindling bank account. I wasn't just surviving on my budget, I was thriving. I was able to splurge on things that mattered, like a multi-day scuba diving trip because I was saving so much on daily essentials. This lifestyle felt like a secret the rest of the world wasn't in on. I was living a millionaire's life on a shoestring budget. I had freedom, adventure, incredible food, and a front row seat to some of the most beautiful scenery on the planet. I was able to stay for months, truly immersing myself in the culture for what a 2-week trip to Europe would have cost me. It proves that you don't need to be rich to travel the world. You just have to be smart about where you go. If you want more tips on how to travel well for less, make sure you subscribe, because I have so many more secrets to share. Before this trip, I was bombarded with warnings. People said it was too dangerous, the infrastructure too difficult. Just go to Europe, they'd say, but they were wrong. The Philippines was a haven of kindness. I never felt unsafe. Navigating local transport became a fun challenge. This journey was richer and more transformative than any European tour. It was an upgrade. There was a moment when everything clicked, when the reason I had chosen this path became clear. I was sitting on a small boat, sailing between islands. The sun was setting. In that moment of stillness, a profound sense of peace washed over me. I found something infinitely more valuable, a connection back to myself. I realized that travel isn't just about seeing the world, it's about finding your place in it. The real souvenir is the change that happens within you. That is the souvenir that will last a lifetime. I found authenticity, I found connection. Thank you for coming along with me on this adventure.